What would it be like to have the ability to resist fleeting impulses and choose, with clarity, what truly matters? Self-control isn't about denying the pleasures of life, but rather about learning to choose wisely, to balance the present and the future, to enjoy small joys without losing sight of bigger dreams. This skill is like a muscle that, the more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes, allowing you to live according to what you really want. Self-control is a subtle but profoundly powerful force that shapes our lives in ways we often don't even realize. It's that inner voice that helps us make decisions aligned with our values and goals, even when temptations arise. Chapter 1: Eliminate the reward system. The expectation that a reward will bring lasting happiness is one of the biggest traps our mind sets for us. Picture this: it's the end of a long, exhausting day, and the thought of eating a piece of chocolate cake seems like the perfect solution to relieve your stress. Your mind begins to create a scenario where that cake is the key to the pleasure you crave. Anticipation builds, and you can't wait to taste that sweet bite. However, when you finally take that first bite, the pleasure is fleeting, and before you even swallow, reality sets in. The cake, which seemed to be the answer to all your problems, offers only momentary satisfaction. Then, like a cold splash of water, come the feelings of guilt, the discomfort in your stomach, and the realization that the promised pleasure was nothing more than an illusion. This phenomenon is widely explained by the workings of the brain's reward circuit, where dopamine plays a crucial role. Dopamine is often associated with pleasure, but it's actually much more involved in the anticipation of pleasure than the pleasure itself. When you think about the chocolate cake, it's dopamine that makes your brain crave it, that gives you the motivation to go to the kitchen and get it. But once the cake is eaten, the dopamine decreases, and the actual pleasure is much less than anticipated. It's like eagerly awaiting a gift, only to discover that its contents aren't as exciting as the packaging promised. Neuroscience studies reveal that the anticipation of reward is often more powerful than the reward itself. In experiments with rats, for example, it was observed that dopamine levels spiked as the rats approached the food but dropped significantly once they started eating. The same happens with humans. The pleasure we imagine we'll get from a reward rarely matches reality. Understanding this mechanism can be a big step towards resisting the temptation to seek fleeting pleasures that, in the end, leave us feeling more empty than satisfied. But the problem doesn't stop there. The cycle of indulgence and guilt is a trap that's hard to escape. Imagine that after eating the cake, guilt starts to set in. I shouldn't have eaten that, you think, as the feeling of pleasure completely fades, giving way to self-recrimination. The worst part is that this guilt often leads to more indulgences. You might find yourself reaching for another piece of cake or any other form of instant gratification, trying to soothe the guilt. This vicious cycle of indulgence followed by guilt becomes a mental trap, where each attempt to escape only ensnares you deeper. The psychology of instant gratification is a key factor in this process. As humans, we're wired to avoid discomfort. When we're stressed, sad, or bored, the mind looks for quick ways to relieve this discomfort, and immediate rewards, like food or impulsive shopping, seem like the perfect solution. However, this solution is only temporary and often leads to more negative consequences in the long run. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that needs stitches. It provides temporary relief but doesn't address the underlying problem. To break this cycle, it's necessary to adopt strategies that reduce guilt and promote self-acceptance. Practicing mindfulness, for example, can help you become more aware of your impulses and respond to them in a healthier way. Instead of automatically giving into the desire for a reward, mindfulness allows you to pause, a moment to consider whether it will really bring the pleasure it promises or if it will result in more guilt. Additionally, practicing self-compassion can help you deal with guilt in a more constructive way, accepting that it's human to give in to temptations sometimes without harshly punishing yourself for it. One effective way to deal with the illusion of reward is to test your expectations. When you feel that intense desire for a reward, ask yourself, is the pleasure really worth the guilt I'll feel afterward? By doing this, you begin to realize that many of these rewards aren't as satisfying as your mind wants you to believe. For example, before eating the cake, think about how you felt the other times you gave in to temptation. The feeling of guilt was probably stronger than the pleasure, and bringing that memory to mind can help you resist the impulse. Cognitive restructuring techniques, commonly used in cognitive behavioral therapy, are also very helpful in this process. It involves changing the way you think about rewards, replacing automatic thoughts that associate these rewards with happiness with more realistic thoughts. If, for example, you're used to thinking that you need a sweet treat to feel better after a stressful day, cognitive restructuring can help you replace that thought with another, like there are other ways to relax that won't make me feel guilty afterward. Over time, this can reduce the search for instant gratification and help develop a stronger sense of self-control. Reflecting on past experiences where the reward didn't bring the expected satisfaction is also crucial. Keeping a journal where you note how you felt after giving into these temptations can be a powerful tool for self-awareness. For example, if after eating the cake you feel guilty, frustrated, or unsatisfied, recording these feelings can help create an awareness of how these rewards rarely live up to their emotional cost. This continuous reflection serves as feedback to adjust your behavior in the long term, making it easier to resist future temptations. In the end, eliminating the reward system isn't just a matter of willpower, but of understanding and reprogramming how your mind reacts to rewards. By challenging expectations, restructuring your thoughts, and reflecting on the consequences, you can start to escape the trap of instant gratification and seek forms of pleasure and satisfaction that are truly lasting and healthy. Chapter 2: Don't trade good for bad. Moral licensing is one of those traps that often catches us off guard. Imagine this scenario: you're following a strict diet, bravely resisting temptations all day long. Come evening, and you feel proud for sticking to it. I deserve a reward, you think, allowing yourself to eat a pizza or that dessert you love so much. It seems like a fair decision, after all, you've been good all day. But this indulgence ends up undermining all the effort you made, and the cycle repeats, one step forward, and another back. This behavior is exactly what we call moral licensing, where we use a positive action to justify something that, deep down, we know isn't the best for us. This kind of reasoning comes from a complex interaction between our thoughts, emotions, and the environment around us, something that social cognition theory explains very well. When you feel proud of doing something right, like sticking to a diet, that feeling can create a sense of permission, as if you have credit to spend on an indulgence. But the truth is that this credit doesn't exist. It's an illusion our mind creates to give us what we want, even if it compromises our long-term goals. So how do you avoid falling into this trap? A good start is to keep a clear focus on your goals. Setting strict rules for yourself, like "I won't eat junk food during the week," can help reduce those justifications that your mind loves to invent. When the rules are clear and there's no room for negotiation, it's much harder to convince yourself that a small exception is acceptable. Speaking of small exceptions, it's amazing how they can have a bigger impact than we imagine. That extra slice of pizza or that impulse purchase that seemed harmless can actually start to erode all the progress you've made so far. It's like saving money for a dream vacation but allowing yourself to spend a little here and there on things you don't need. In the end, these small indulgences add up, and before you know it, the progress that seemed so solid starts to crumble. This brings us to another important concept, the theory of marginal cost increase. Basically, the more you allow yourself small indulgences, the harder it becomes to get back on track. Each small slip weakens your willpower, making it even more challenging to resist the next temptation. It's like trying to push a snowball uphill. The more it rolls downhill, the bigger and heavier it gets, and the more effort you need to stop it. But don't despair. There are ways to build resistance against these small indulgences. Techniques like mindfulness can be extremely helpful here. When you practice mindfulness, you learn to recognize your impulses the moment they arise, and this gives you a pause to think before acting. Instead of simply giving in to temptation, you can ask yourself, will this really make me feel good in the long run? Often, this simple reflection is enough to help you make a wiser decision. Another effective strategy is to restructure the way you view your goals and rewards. Instead of categorizing your actions as good or bad, try aligning your rewards with your long-term goals. For example, if your goal is to save money, perhaps a walk in the park or a relaxing evening at home are more appropriate rewards than buying something expensive. This not only keeps you on track but also reinforces the idea that rewards don't have to be indulgent to be satisfying. Goal-setting theory shows us how important it is to define clear and realistic objectives. When your goals are well-defined and make sense to you, the motivation to achieve them becomes much stronger. And if the rewards you choose are directly linked to progress toward those goals, it's much easier to resist those small indulgences that ultimately don't contribute to your success. Whenever you feel the urge to reward yourself with something that might derail your goals, remember why you started this journey. Think about the why behind your goals. If your aim is to improve your health or save money for something important, reminding yourself of that reason can be exactly what you need to stay focused and resist the temptation to sabotage all your progress. Understanding and applying these strategies in your daily life can be the key to achieving your goals without falling into the traps of moral licensing or small indulgences. In the end, the secret lies in staying focused, being kind to yourself, and remembering that the true rewards come from achieving what really matters to you. Chapter 3: Beware of the screw-it effect. We've all been there. Imagine you're trying to stick to a strict diet, and suddenly a moment of weakness happens. You eat something that wasn't part of the plan. The next moment, guilt hits hard, and that inner voice starts criticizing, "Well, you've messed up now. Since you're off the rails, why not keep going? Screw it." This is the infamous screw-it effect, a psychological mechanism where intense self-criticism leads us to throw everything away and indulge in behaviors that only make the situation worse. This effect is more common than we'd like to admit. When we feel like we've failed, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that since the damage is done, there's no point in trying to stay on track. This type of thinking is incredibly self-sabotaging because it turns a slip, which could have been just a small stumble, into a full-on downfall. The truth is, harsh self-criticism doesn't motivate us to do better, it often pushes us toward more harmful behaviors. The reasoning behind it is simple: if you already feel like you've ruined your efforts, the temptation to completely give in to indulgences seems justified. The role of self-judgment in this process cannot be underestimated. When we harshly judge ourselves for a mistake, like eating a dessert outside the diet, guilt and shame quickly take over. And these negative emotions often fuel even more indulgent behaviors. It's almost like a vicious cycle: you mess up, feel bad about it, and in an attempt to relieve that feeling, you end up making more mistakes. Instead of motivating a course correction, self-judgment only reinforces the idea that you're incapable of change, leading to more self-sabotaging behaviors. To break this cycle of self-criticism and indulgence, it's essential to adopt a self-compassionate approach. Instead of punishing yourself for a slip, imagine how much more productive it would be to forgive yourself and try to understand what led to the mistake. Studies show that practicing self-forgiveness not only helps restore willpower but also promotes healthier behavior. Think about how you would treat a friend going through the same situation. Surely, you wouldn't harshly criticize them; on the contrary, you'd offer words of comfort and encouragement to help them get back on track. Doing this for yourself can have a surprisingly positive impact. Recognizing patterns of self-sabotage is the first step to interrupting the cycle. Often, these patterns manifest in specific situations or under certain emotions, like stress or boredom. For example, you might notice that whenever you feel overwhelmed at work, you end up eating something you shouldn't, as a way to cope with the pressure. Identifying these triggers is crucial because only then can you start working to avoid or face them in a healthier way. Self-determination theory offers another important perspective on self-sabotage. It suggests that when our actions are motivated by external factors or pressure rather than genuine desire, the chances of self-sabotage increase. Think about the difference between dieting because you genuinely want to improve your health versus doing it because you feel pressured by others. In the first case, your motivation is intrinsic, making it easier to stay focused. In the second, the lack of a strong internal motivation can make you give up at the first obstacle. Building motivation that comes from within, aligned with your values and personal desires, is crucial to avoiding self-sabotage. But what do you do when self-sabotage has already happened? developing a recovery plan can be the key to mitigating its effects. A good plan includes strategies to reconnect with your intrinsic motivations, redefine short-term goals, and, most importantly, celebrate small successes along the way. Imagine that after a slip-up, instead of punishing yourself, you decide to focus on a small goal for the next day, like choosing a healthy meal or taking a walk. Each time you achieve one of these small goals, your confidence increases, and you feel more empowered to keep going. Self-forgiveness is another powerful tool on this journey. When you forgive yourself for past failures, you're essentially releasing the emotional energy that would be spent on regret and frustration. This energy can be redirected to your future attempts at self-control. Think about how light and motivated you feel after allowing yourself a fresh start, free from the chains of the past. Forgiveness isn't about ignoring mistakes but about accepting that they are part of the learning and growth process. Psychological resilience, which is the ability to recover from failures and adversity, also heavily depends on self-forgiveness. If you can forgive yourself quickly after a slip, you'll be able to recover and get back on track faster. Resilience isn't about never failing but about how you respond to failures. Incorporating practices that reinforce this mindset, like reflecting on what you learn from each mistake, can make all the difference in your ability to achieve your goals. Finally, it's important to remember to reward your efforts in a positive and healthy way. Instead of resorting to negative indulgences as a way to cope with stress or celebrate an achievement, seek self-compensation practices that reinforce your progress. Maybe you treat yourself to quality time doing something you love, like reading a book, practicing a hobby, or simply relaxing. This creates a positive reinforcement cycle, where each small victory is celebrated, which in turn encourages more healthy behaviors. In the end, avoiding the screw-it effect is about being kind to yourself and understanding that stumbles are part of the journey. With self-compassion, recognition of self-sabotaging patterns, and a strong sense of self-forgiveness, you can turn each slip into an opportunity for growth and continue moving forward toward your goals. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Your subscription helps us keep creating content with love and dedication. Chapter 4. Are you waiting for the future? Often, we catch ourselves thinking about how we'll be in the future, idealizing a version of ourselves that is more disciplined, more motivated, more capable of achieving everything we desire. This future you always seems more prepared to face challenges, more ready to start that delayed project, more willing to follow a healthy routine. This kind of thinking can be comforting, but it's also a dangerous trap, known as the illusion of the future you. This illusion arises when we project an idealized version of ourselves into the future, believing that somehow we'll be more efficient or committed than we are now. For example, you might think that next month you'll finally start exercising regularly because you expect that by then it will be easier to get up early and go to the gym. The problem is that this projection creates a false sense of security, a belief that in the future it will be easier to reach our goals, leading us to postpone the necessary actions today. This procrastination, fueled by the idea of a more capable future self, keeps us stuck in the same place, waiting for the right moment that never comes. Temporal distance is a key factor that fuels this illusion. Studies show that the farther away a goal is in time, the more likely we are to underestimate it. This happens because, when we think of something that's far in the future, we tend to imagine that we'll have more resources, be it time, energy, or motivation, to handle the task. It's as if we see the future as a magical place where everything fits perfectly, forgetting that the future will be just another present moment with the same challenges and limitations we face now. Overcoming this illusion requires a shift in perspective. Instead of placing all our hopes on an idealized future, it's crucial to adopt a take-action-now approach. This means setting small, achievable goals in the present that can be accomplished with what you have at your disposal today. By taking small steps toward your goals, you reduce your dependence on that future self and start building progress now, which increases the likelihood of success and reduces procrastination. Procrastination, by the way, is a direct consequence of this illusion. When we put off tasks, believing that in the future we'll be more prepared to handle them, we're actually creating a bigger problem for ourselves. the cost of procrastination is high, both in terms of missed opportunities and accumulated stress. Think about all the times you've put something off, only to find yourself overwhelmed as the deadline approaches. This accumulation of postponed tasks creates an emotional and mental burden that can be difficult to manage when the time finally comes to act. Behind procrastination often lies the fear of failure or the pursuit of perfection. This is a form of self-sabotage, where we avoid taking action because we fear not being able to achieve the perfect goal we've idealized. Understanding that procrastination can be a way to protect ourselves from fear is the first step to overcoming it. By recognizing this pattern, we can start developing strategies to face it, like accepting that it's better to do something imperfectly than to do nothing at all. Turning procrastination into action is possible, and it starts with creating a concrete plan. Breaking tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps can make all the difference. When you set short and clear deadlines for each step, it helps maintain momentum and prevents you from falling into the trap of putting things off. For example, if you have a large project to deliver, instead of thinking of it as a single, giant task, break it down into parts like researching, drafting, reviewing, and finalizing. By completing these small tasks one at a time, you keep moving forward and avoid being blocked by the size of the entire task. Making conscious decisions is a practice that can transform the way we handle our goals and challenges. This means being fully aware of the consequences of our choices, both in the present and in the future. Often, we give in to the temptation to do what brings us immediate pleasure, ignoring the long-term impact. However, if we pause to reflect on what we're really choosing, we can make decisions more aligned with our long-term goals. Rational choice theory suggests that we make decisions based on a cost-benefit analysis, but to apply this to self-control, we need to be honest about the real costs and benefits of our actions. For example, does the momentary pleasure of procrastination justify the stress and rush of trying to do everything at the last minute? Probably not. When we evaluate our decisions this way, it becomes clearer that immediate action, however small, is always more advantageous in the long run. Tools like meditation, a decision journal, and the practice of reflection can be extremely useful for making our decisions more conscious. Meditation helps calm the mind and focus on the present, which is crucial for combating procrastination. Keeping a decision journal allows us to see more clearly the patterns of choice we follow and identify areas where we need to improve. Regularly reflecting on our decisions, whether good or bad, gives us the opportunity to learn and adjust our strategies for the future. Ultimately, the key to overcoming the illusion of the future you and the procrastination that comes with it is to take control of the present. By acting now, even if imperfectly, you create the future you desire without depending on an idealized version of yourself that may never arrive. It's in the now that true progress happens, and it's through conscious decisions and consistent actions that you can achieve your goals. Chapter 5. You only have one source of willpower. Willpower is often compared to a battery that you carry with you throughout the day. Just like a battery, it has a limited amount of energy that depletes as you use it. This idea is the basis of the limited resource theory, which suggests that willpower is a finite resource, something that gets worn out every time you need to make a decision or exert self-control. At the beginning of the day, when the battery is full, resisting temptations or focusing on important tasks can be relatively easy. But as the day progresses and decisions pile up, you may find that your strength to resist a cookie or finish that report starts to wane. This phenomenon isn't just a metaphor. Science shows us that willpower really does function like a resource that can be depleted. Every decision you make, from what to wear in the morning to how to respond to a difficult email, consumes a bit of this reserve. This is known as decision fatigue. By the end of the day, after facing dozens of small choices, you may find yourself drained, with little to no mental energy left to make good decisions. That's why we often give in to temptations or procrastinate on important tasks in the evening. One way to preserve this precious willpower is to automate as many decisions as possible. Think about how many choices you make daily that could be simplified. Planning your meals in advance, for example, means you don't have to decide what to eat every time you're hungry, just follow the plan. Establishing routines for your mornings, like choosing your clothes the night before, also helps save mental energy, which can be used for more important decisions throughout the day. By automating these trivial choices, you free up mental resources for what really matters. Even the small decisions, those that seem almost insignificant, have a cost. Deciding what to eat for breakfast, choosing which route to take to work, or even which message to reply to first on your phone are examples of decisions that, individually, seem harmless. However, throughout the day, these small expenditures of willpower accumulate, leaving you more vulnerable to mental exhaustion. This accumulation can lead to a state that psychology calls the point of exhaustion, where your ability to make rational decisions and maintain discipline is seriously compromised. The point of exhaustion is a stage that many of us have experienced, even without realizing it. It's that moment when, after a whole day of work, you simply can't resist that treat, or when you're tempted to skip the gym because you feel like you just don't have the mental energy to force yourself to go. That feeling of being on the edge is a clear sign that your willpower has been drained throughout the day, and you've reached the point of exhaustion. From that point on, it's much harder to maintain discipline in any aspect of your life, from eating to productivity at work. To reduce the impact of these small decisions that accumulate, implementing automatic habits can be the solution. Imagine how it would be if you didn't have to think about what to wear or what to eat because those choices were already made beforehand. Choosing your clothes the night before, as mentioned, or having a fixed menu for the week, are simple ways to save mental energy. These strategies may seem small, but the difference they make in freeing up your willpower for more critical decisions is enormous. Another important aspect of willpower management is task prioritization. The Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, suggests that 20% of your activities generate 80% of your results. Applying this principle to your daily life can be a powerful way to ensure that you're using your willpower efficiently. Identify the tasks that really make a difference in your long-term goals and focus on them, especially at the beginning of the day when your willpower is at its peak. This not only maximizes your productivity but also ensures that you're dedicating your mental resources to activities that truly matter. Setting clear priorities is essential for success. When you know exactly what needs to be done, it's easier to avoid the temptation to spend energy on less important tasks. This means you need to be strategic about how you organize your day. It may be helpful to start each morning by identifying the 3 most important tasks you need to complete. This helps keep the focus on what really matters, allowing you to delegate or delay less priority tasks without feeling guilty. There are various tools that can help you better manage your tasks and, consequently, your willpower. To-do lists are a classic but effective way to stay focused. Time management techniques, like the Pomodoro method, which involves working in focused time blocks with short breaks in between, can help maintain your energy and focus throughout the day. The practice of daily prioritization, where you review and adjust your goals for the day, can also ensure that your willpower is being used strategically, increasing the chances of success. In the end, remembering that you only have one source of willpower can change the way you approach your decisions and daily tasks. By understanding that this strength is limited, you can take proactive steps to preserve it, using it intelligently and strategically. By automating decisions, simplifying trivial choices, and prioritizing what truly matters, you can ensure that your willpower battery lasts throughout the day, helping you achieve your goals more efficiently and with less stress. Chapter 6: You can strengthen your willpower. Willpower is something we often think of as a fixed trait, you either have it or you don't. But the reality is quite different. Just like a muscle, willpower can be trained and strengthened over time. The brain has an incredible ability to adapt and change, known as neuroplasticity. This means that with practice and dedication, you can actually train your mind to improve your self-control. Neuroplasticity gives us hope that we can, indeed, become better at resisting temptations and staying focused on our goals. When you regularly engage in practices like meditation, you are literally shaping your brain in a way that facilitates self-control. Think of the brain as a field you can cultivate. The more you practice self-control, the stronger the neural connections associated with it become. This doesn't happen overnight, but over time, these practices make a significant difference. Mindfulness, or the practice of being fully present, is one of the most effective tools for strengthening willpower. By practicing mindfulness, you focus on the present moment, observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This increases your self-awareness, which is crucial for recognizing impulses before acting on them. When you become more aware of how you react to situations, it's easier to take a step back, think, and choose a more deliberate response. Over time, this consistent practice not only improves self-control but also makes you feel calmer and more centered in the face of daily challenges. In addition to mindfulness, challenging your mind in other ways can also help strengthen willpower. Activities like solving puzzles, learning a new skill, or even studying a new subject require concentration and self-control. These mental challenges are like a workout for your brain. The more you strive to concentrate and resist distraction, the stronger your mind becomes. This not only improves your ability to learn and solve problems but also strengthens your resistance to other temptations. Meditation is another key practice when it comes to strengthening willpower. Numerous studies show that regular meditation can have a significant impact on self-control. Meditation not only helps reduce impulsivity but can also increase gray matter in the brain, which is associated with memory and decision-making. When you meditate regularly, you begin to notice a greater capacity for concentration and less emotional reactivity, making it easier to maintain control in situations that previously may have been challenging. There are different types of meditation that can be helpful for increasing willpower. Mindfulness meditation, for example, is excellent for developing self-awareness and reducing stress. Compassion meditation helps cultivate a kinder and more patient attitude, both toward others and yourself. Both practices create a mental environment that favors the development of a more robust and resilient willpower. Incorporating meditation into your daily routine doesn't have to be complicated. You can start with just 5 to 10 minutes a day and gradually increase the time as you become more comfortable with the practice. The most important thing is to be consistent. Meditating every day, even for a short time, is more effective than meditating for long periods sporadically. Over time, you'll find that this practice becomes a natural part of your day, and the benefits for your willpower and self-control will be evident. Besides practices like meditation, the way you set and pursue your goals also influences your willpower. Setting small, realistic goals is an effective way to strengthen your resolve. When you achieve a small victory, like cutting 300 calories a day instead of 1,000, it generates a sense of accomplishment that motivates you to keep going. These small victories are important because they show that you're making progress, which helps maintain your motivation and, consequently, your willpower. The sense of progress is a powerful motivator. Breaking down large goals into smaller, measurable steps allows you to see progress more clearly and frequently, which keeps your motivation high. Each small step you take toward your goal serves as a reminder that you're on the right track, further strengthening your determination. As your willpower strengthens, it's important to adjust your goals to continue challenging yourself. If you started with small goals, like cutting 300 calories, and found success, it might be time to gradually increase the difficulty. This doesn't mean you should jump straight to huge goals but rather continue to challenge yourself gradually and continuously, ensuring that you're always growing and developing. Strengthening willpower is an ongoing process that involves both mental techniques and setting realistic and challenging goals. By combining these strategies, you not only develop a stronger and more resilient mind but also set yourself on a path that leads to success in any goal you want to achieve. Each small step you take in this direction is an investment in yourself, in the person you want to become, someone with the strength and determination needed to overcome any challenge life brings. Chapter 7. Don't feel bad. It's common for people to turn to impulsive behaviors as a way to relieve emotional discomfort, especially in moments of anxiety. One of the most common behaviors is impulsive shopping. Imagine a stressful day where everything seems to be going wrong, and suddenly, a notification pops up on your phone with an irresistible sale. The temptation to buy something new, even if you don't need it, can be strong. Anxiety creates an urgent desire to escape the tension, and buying something seems like a quick and easy solution. However, this relief is usually temporary, and what's left afterward is regret and often increased financial debt. This behavior is driven by the psychology of consumption for immediate gratification. When you buy something new, your brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This dopamine boost makes you feel good, at least for a moment. However, this feeling is fleeting, and once it fades, you may feel even worse than before, especially if the purchase was impulsive and unnecessary. This cycle can repeat, creating a pattern of impulsive consumption that affects not only your finances but also your emotional well-being. To combat the impulse to shop as a way to relieve anxiety, several strategies can be extremely effective. One is to establish a waiting period before making a purchase. For example, if you see something you want to buy, wait 24 hours before making the decision. Often, this time is enough for the impulsive emotion to pass, allowing you to rationally assess whether you really need the item. Another strategy is to practice mindfulness. By becoming more aware of your impulses and emotions, you can identify when you're using shopping as an emotional escape and instead choose healthier alternatives, like taking a walk or talking to a friend. The need for instant gratification is at the core of many self-control challenges. It's a constant battle between the now and the later. It's easy to prefer an immediate reward, even if smaller, to waiting for something better in the future. This preference for the immediate can often sabotage your long-term goals, whether it's saving money, sticking to a diet, or focusing on an important project. Instant gratification is tempting because it offers a quick solution to discomfort, but it's rarely the best choice in the long run. Delayed gratification, on the other hand, is the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a larger and more satisfying reward in the future. One of the most famous studies on this subject is the marshmallow experiment, where children were placed in a room with a marshmallow and given the option to eat it immediately or wait a little longer and receive 2 marshmallows. The children who managed to wait, resisting temptation, showed better results years later in various areas of life, including academic performance and social skills. This suggests that the ability to delay gratification is strongly linked to success and self-control. Developing the ability to delay gratification is something that can be trained. You can start with small exercises, like waiting a few minutes before giving into a desire, whether it's eating a sweet treat or making a purchase. Over time, you can gradually increase these waiting periods, which strengthens your ability to resist immediate temptations. This practice not only improves your self-control but also increases your resilience and patience, essential qualities for achieving bigger goals. In addition to working on delayed gratification, finding effective ways to relieve stress is crucial to avoiding impulsive behaviors. Physical exercise is one of the most effective ways to deal with stress. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, which are hormones that improve mood and reduce stress. Moreover, regular exercise helps lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone, which can improve your ability to stay in control in difficult situations. Whether it's a walk, a run, or a yoga session, finding a physical activity you enjoy can be an excellent way to manage anxiety. Meditation is another powerful tool for reducing stress and increasing self-control. Practicing meditation regularly helps calm the mind, reducing emotional reactivity. This means that in stressful moments, you'll be better prepared to respond calmly and rationally instead of reacting impulsively. Meditation also increases self-awareness, which is crucial for recognizing when you're about to give into an impulse, giving you the chance to choose a different course of action. Maintaining strong social connections also plays an important role in stress management. Having friends and family you can rely on provides essential emotional support, especially in times of anxiety. Social support is associated with better mental health and a greater ability to cope with emotional challenges. When you feel supported, you're less likely to resort to impulsive behaviors as a way to deal with stress. Instead, you can talk to someone, vent, and receive advice, which helps dissipate anxiety in a healthy way. In the end, not feeling bad about having desires or impulses is key. We all have moments of weakness, and it's normal to feel the urge to give in to immediate gratification, especially in times of stress. But with the right strategies, like practicing mindfulness, delaying gratification, and finding healthy ways to relieve stress, you can learn to manage these impulses more effectively without feeling guilty or regretful afterward. Remember, self-control is a skill that can be developed, and every small step you take toward better managing your desires and emotions is a step in the right direction. Chapter 8: You Need to Sleep. We all know that getting a good night's sleep is important, but in the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to underestimate the impact that lack of sleep can have on our lives. When we don't get enough sleep, the first thing we notice is the difficulty concentrating. Everything seems harder, and even the simplest tasks become a challenge. It's like your brain is running in slow motion, making it almost impossible to focus on what really matters. This leads to procrastination because, without the necessary energy, you end up putting off what needs to be done, trying to escape responsibilities. Lack of sleep also messes with our mood in ways we often don't notice right away. Have you ever noticed how everything seems to irritate you more when you're tired? Little things that you would normally shrug off become major problems. Irritability increases, and the ability to handle stress goes out the window. And when we're in that state, making rational decisions becomes almost impossible. We end up making impulsive choices, opting for what seems easiest at the moment, even though we know it's not the best for us. Improving the quality of your sleep can completely transform how you feel and act daily. Something as simple as maintaining a consistent sleep routine, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, can make a huge difference. Your body starts to understand when it's time to rest and when it's time to wake up, which helps regulate your biological clock, making it easier to fall asleep and wake up. Additionally, creating a comfortable sleep environment is essential. A dark, cool, and quiet room helps your body relax more easily, allowing you to enter deep, restorative sleep. And it's not just cognitive function that improves with good sleep, it also directly impacts the decisions we make, including what we eat. When we're tired, the body tends to seek quick energy, and that's when we fall into a trap. Sleep deprivation makes us opt for foods high in sugar and fat because the body is desperate for a quick energy source. But, of course, this only makes things worse because these foods don't sustain us for long and end up affecting our mood and well-being even more. To sleep better, small changes can have big results. Start by reducing caffeine intake at night and avoid using electronic devices like your phone before bed. The light from screens can confuse the body and make it harder to sleep. Instead, adopt a relaxing routine before bed, read a book, take a warm bath, or practice meditation. And pay attention to what you eat and drink at night. Avoid heavy meals and opt for a relaxing tea or a light snack that can help your body prepare for a restful night's sleep. Maintaining a consistent sleep routine and taking care of the environment where you sleep are simple steps that can completely change your quality of life. When you sleep well, you wake up more energized, with a clear mind and ready to face the day. And contrary to what many think, improving sleep doesn't require big sacrifices, just the adoption of small habits that, together, make a big difference. The reward? Less procrastination, better decisions, and a much more balanced mood. It all starts with a good night's sleep. Chapter 9: You Need to Exercise. Exercising isn't just about getting in shape or losing weight, it's about taking care of your entire being, body, and mind. The truth is, willpower doesn't just come from your mind, your body plays a crucial role too. When you're physically healthy, your mind works better too. That's because body and mind are deeply connected, and when you take care of one, you're automatically taking care of the other. Regular exercise works wonders for mental health. It's not just about feeling less stressed or anxious, it goes deeper. When you exercise, your brain releases chemicals like endorphins, which literally make you feel good. This creates a ripple effect. When you feel happier and less stressed, you end up making better decisions in other areas of your life. For example, after a good run or yoga session, you might find it easier to opt for a healthy meal or resist that dessert that would normally be hard to ignore. Additionally, exercise helps build a kind of stress resistance. Think about how you feel after a day full of tension, and then you allow yourself a walk outside or a workout session. After that, your worries seem smaller, and you feel more capable of handling whatever comes your way. This happens because exercise not only relieves accumulated tension but also teaches your body and mind to better cope with stress. Another important point is how exercise reinforces self-control. When you decide to exercise, especially on days when laziness strikes hard, you're actually practicing self-discipline. Each time you overcome the desire to stay on the couch and choose to move, you're strengthening your ability to resist other temptations in life, whether it's eating something you shouldn't or procrastinating on important tasks. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Incorporating exercise into your routine can be simpler than you think. We're not talking about hours at the gym. Small changes can make a big difference. A walk around the neighborhood, biking to work, or practicing a few minutes of yoga in the morning are all steps that help make exercise a natural part of your day. The best part is that the benefits of exercise show up quickly. You don't have to wait months to feel the changes. Right after a good workout session, you already notice an improvement in your mood. That feeling of being lighter and less stressed comes almost instantly. And it's not just your mood that improves, your ability to focus and concentrate also gets a boost. People who exercise regularly tend to have more mental clarity and can concentrate better on daily tasks. When you move, you're taking care of yourself in a comprehensive way, creating a solid foundation for living more balanced and with more self-control. And the best part is that anyone can start, whether with small steps or big leaps. The important thing is to move. Chapter 10. Why can't you stop thinking about elephants? Have you ever noticed that when you try to stop thinking about something, you end up thinking about it even more? Like when someone says, "Don't think about elephants," and suddenly that's all you can think about. This phenomenon is called the ironic rebound and is something we've all experienced in one way or another. What happens is that when we try to suppress a thought, it ends up coming back even stronger. For example, if you're trying to forget a worry or avoid a craving, it seems like it becomes even more present. This happens because, in trying not to think about something, your brain is constantly checking if you're actually succeeding in not thinking about it. Ironically, this attempt to control makes the thought even stronger in your mind. There's a theory for this, known as ironic process theory. Basically, the more you try to control or eliminate a thought, the more it insists on appearing. It's as if your brain is on constant alert, always checking if that thought is there, which ends up keeping it active. So how do you deal with this? The answer might be surprisingly simple: stop fighting those thoughts. Instead of trying to force them away, try accepting them. Practices like mindfulness, or being fully present, teach exactly that, to observe thoughts without judging or trying to control them. When you allow these thoughts to come and go freely, they lose some of the power they had. They don't disappear immediately, but they become less disturbing. An interesting technique for dealing with strong desires or impulses is urge surfing. This means that instead of giving into the impulse or trying to suppress it, you simply observe the desire as if it were a wave. Just like a wave, the desire starts small, grows to a peak, and then inevitably decreases. If you can surf this wave without acting, you'll notice that the desire passes, and you'll be stronger to resist future temptations. This idea of urge surfing can be applied to many everyday situations. Think about resisting the urge to eat something you know isn't healthy or avoiding procrastinating on an important task. When you observe the desire without giving into it, you're exercising your willpower, and every time you do this, it becomes easier to resist the next time. Accepting your thoughts and desires without acting on them not only helps with self-control but also reduces stress and anxiety. When you stop trying to suppress or control your thoughts, the pressure eases, and you feel more at peace with yourself. This acceptance approach can be much more effective in the long run than constantly fighting thoughts, which usually only causes more frustration. Another important aspect of dealing with difficult habits is understanding what's behind them. Often, unwanted habits are an attempt to meet some emotional need, like relieving stress, seeking comfort, or gaining approval. If you can identify this underlying need, you can start finding healthier alternatives to meet it. Instead of trying to eliminate a habit all at once, a useful strategy is to replace it with something that satisfies the same need but in a healthier way. For example, if you procrastinate as a way to deal with stress, you might try replacing that habit with planned short breaks that allow you to relax without losing focus. This way, you're still taking care of yourself but without compromising your goals. Creating new behavior patterns takes time and practice, but it's entirely possible. As you begin practicing healthy alternatives, these new habits start to take root. Over time, they can replace the old ones, helping you create a positive cycle of self-control and well-being. The key to dealing with difficult thoughts and habits isn't to try to force them away but rather to accept them and find healthier ways to deal with them. When you adopt this approach, stress and anxiety decrease, and you become stronger to live according to your values and goals without worrying so much about the elephant in the room. Chapter 11. You need to pause and plan. We all face those moments when temptation strikes hard. It might be the urge to eat something you know you shouldn't, the desire to procrastinate on an important task, or the temptation to react impulsively in a conflict situation. The real challenge in these moments is dealing with the internal conflict that arises between what you want at the moment and what you know is best for you in the long run. This conflict is an inevitable part of life, but the good news is that by recognizing it, we can start making more conscious decisions aligned with our goals. Resisting temptation isn't just a matter of willpower. It also involves the ability to effectively manage this internal conflict. It's like having two voices in your head, one that wants immediate gratification and another that reminds you of your bigger goals. The key is to increase awareness of this conflict. When you become more aware of this internal battle, it's easier to stay focused on what truly matters and resist the impulse to give in. A powerful way to deal with this conflict is to practice self-awareness. Techniques like mindfulness and meditation can help a lot. When you practice mindfulness, for example, you learn to observe your thoughts and feelings without automatically reacting to them. This creates mental space between the impulse and the action, giving you time to reflect and make a more considered decision. Instead of simply giving in to temptation, you can pause, breathe, and choose what you truly want for yourself. This is where the pause and plan technique comes in. When you feel tempted or stressed, the first thing to do is slow down. This means literally pausing and focusing on your breathing. By slowing down your breathing to around 4 to 6 breaths per minute, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm your body and mind. This not only reduces immediate stress but also allows you to think more clearly and make more rational decisions. In addition to pausing, proactive planning is another powerful tool. This involves anticipating situations where you know you'll be tempted and having a plan in mind to deal with them. For example, if you know you tend to binge eat when you're stressed, you can plan a healthy alternative, like going for a walk or calling a friend when stress hits. Having this plan in mind reduces stress and increases your confidence in your ability to resist temptations. The pause and plan technique can be applied in almost any daily situation. Whether it's resisting the urge to eat something unhealthy, avoiding procrastination at work, or responding more calmly in an argument, this technique is a practical way to strengthen self-control. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and the easier it is to stay focused on your long-term goals. Another simple but effective tool to help with self-control is controlled breathing. Breathing deeply and slowly is a proven way to regulate emotions and improve focus. When you feel like you're losing control, whether because you're stressed, angry, or tempted to do something you might regret, stopping and taking a few deep breaths can make a huge difference. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm both the mind and body, giving you a moment to regain balance. Practicing controlled breathing regularly not only improves self-control but also increases your resilience to stress. This means that, over time, you become better at handling the challenges of daily life without giving into impulses or automatic reactions. Incorporating breathing exercises into your routine can be very simple. Try starting the day with a few deep breaths, or do this before an important meeting or when you're facing a stressful situation. These small moments of pause help maintain focus and emotional control throughout the day. What really matters is giving yourself the time and space to pause and plan. We live in a world where everything happens quickly, and it's easy to act on impulse, but when you take the time to breathe and think before acting, you create the opportunity to make choices that truly reflect what you want for your life. This practice may seem simple, but it has the power to transform how you handle temptations and challenges in daily life, helping you live in a more balanced and intentional way. Chapter 12: Willpower is Contagious. Willpower, that precious ability to achieve our goals, isn't something we develop in isolation. Our relationships and the environment we live in play a huge role in how we cultivate and maintain our determination. It's surprising how the people around us can deeply influence our behaviors, whether for better or for worse. Studies have shown that the behaviors of our friends, family, and colleagues can affect us more than we realize. If you're surrounded by people who have unhealthy habits, like smoking, overeating, or procrastinating, there's a good chance you'll end up adopting those same habits. This happens because, consciously or not, we tend to align ourselves with the behavior of those around us. This is the famous social network influence. We're not talking about online social networks here, but our real-life network, the people we interact with daily. This idea is directly linked to social normativity theory, which suggests that we adjust our behavior to align with the norms of the group we belong to. If you're part of a group where most people lead a healthy lifestyle, like exercising regularly or following a balanced diet, you're more likely to adopt those habits too. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who have less healthy habits, the tendency is for you to adjust to those norms, even if initially that goes against your goals. That's why one of the most powerful strategies for strengthening your willpower is to make conscious choices about who you spend your time with. Surrounding yourself with people who share your health, success, or self-control goals can significantly increase your chances of maintaining those positive behaviors. It's not about cutting ties with people you love, but about seeking more interactions and inspiration from those who are on the same journey as you. Habits, whether good or bad, have a curious way of spreading among people, almost like they're contagious. Imitation is one of the most powerful mechanisms by which this happens. When you see someone close to you practicing a healthy behavior, like going to the gym regularly or choosing a balanced diet, you're more likely to want to do the same. This is part of the mirroring phenomenon, where we subconsciously imitate the actions of others without even realizing it. Additionally, social conformity comes into play. People tend to adopt behaviors they see as normative within the social group they belong to. For example, if it's common among your friends to avoid junk food, you'll feel inclined to do the same, even if that's not a natural habit for you. It's the human need to feel part of a group, to belong to something bigger. To take advantage of this contagious effect positively, you can actively share and model healthy behaviors in your social network. If you start eating better, exercising regularly, or practicing meditation, you can inspire others around you to do the same. Leading by example is one of the most effective ways to spread positive habits. And when these habits start to spread among the people around you, a cycle of positive reinforcement forms, where everyone encourages and benefits from each other. Seeking role models is another important strategy. Identifying people who already practice the behaviors you want to adopt can be a great source of inspiration and support. These role models, whether a friend, mentor, or someone you admire, can offer practical tips, encouragement, and even the extra motivation you need to stay on the right track. Building or participating in a community where these positive behaviors are encouraged can also make a huge difference. This can be done through support groups, health clubs, or even small social circles where everyone shares similar goals. When you're part of a community that values and celebrates healthy behaviors, your own willpower is reinforced. It's not just about you and your goals, it's about being part of something bigger where everyone is helping each other grow. Finally, maintaining these positive relationships is essential. This not only means choosing who you interact with, but also nurturing those relationships. Regularly seeking and offering support within your support community strengthens the bond and increases the mutual commitment to healthy behaviors. This kind of exchange not only strengthens your own determination but also helps keep everyone on the right track, creating an environment where willpower is truly contagious. Realizing that your willpower is influenced by the environment around you can be transformative. By consciously choosing the people you interact with and the behaviors you model and adopt, you not only strengthen your own determination but also contribute to creating a positive support network that uplifts everyone around you. Chapter 13. What would you say to a friend? When we think about how to help a friend in need, we usually take a kinder, more understanding, and empathetic approach. This kind of support is something we often reserve for others but rarely apply to ourselves. What would happen if we changed that? If we started to treat our own challenges with the same compassion we offer to those we love? When you advise a friend, you can see the situation with a broader and more objective perspective, without being overly critical. This ability to see things from the outside is a powerful tool that can also be applied to self-care. Often, we're too hard on ourselves, punishing ourselves for mistakes and failures in a way we would never do to someone dear to us. But what if we started applying this softer, more understanding perspective to ourselves? The empathy you show to a friend in need isn't just a way to help them but can also be a powerful tool for self-care. By giving yourself the same empathy, you create a more positive and supportive internal space. This doesn't mean ignoring your mistakes but rather approaching them with the understanding that everyone makes mistakes, and that this doesn't define who you are. When you apply the same kindness to yourself, you begin to build a solid foundation for self-compassion, which is fundamental for personal growth. A practical way to start doing this is to imagine what you would say to a friend going through a similar situation to yours. How would you encourage them? How would you help them see things in a more positive light? Writing a letter to yourself as if you were speaking to a friend can be an extremely powerful exercise. This helps solidify the practice of self-compassion and creates a roadmap for how to handle future challenges with more kindness and understanding. Self-compassion theory shows us that treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend can bring numerous benefits. Studies show that self-compassion can reduce anxiety, increase resilience, and even improve self-control. When you practice self-compassion, you allow yourself to be human, accepting that mistakes and failures are part of the growth process and that it's okay not to be perfect. This creates an internal environment where motivation can flourish because you're not constantly punishing yourself but rather supporting yourself. Excessive self-criticism, on the other hand, can undermine your willpower and motivation. When you're too hard on yourself, every little mistake turns into a mountain, and the desire to keep going can disappear. Practicing self-compassion helps counteract this tendency, allowing you to regain control after a slip and continue pursuing your goals. It's like giving yourself an emotional hug and saying, "It's okay, you can try again." Tools like self-compassion meditation, gratitude journals, and mindfulness exercises can help cultivate this kinder mindset. Self-compassion meditation, for example, involves focusing on kindness toward yourself and how you can treat yourself the same way you would treat a friend in times of difficulty. Gratitude journals can help shift your focus from failures to the good things in your life, while mindfulness helps you observe your thoughts and feelings without judging them. These practices create a positive internal support cycle that, over time, reinforces your willpower and resilience. Avoiding excessive self-criticism is essential to maintaining a healthy and productive mindset. When we criticize ourselves too harshly, we can fall into a cycle of emotional paralysis, where the fear of failure prevents us from acting. This can lead to procrastination, avoidance, and a decrease in the ability to make effective decisions. Instead of self-criticism, we can adopt the practice of encouragement, just as we would with a friend. This doesn't mean ignoring mistakes but rather focusing on the constructive aspects of the experience and what can be learned from it. A powerful strategy for reducing self-criticism is to practice radical acceptance, recognizing your flaws without judgment. Instead of punishing yourself for not being perfect, you can see failure as an opportunity for learning, a natural part of growth. Additionally, by focusing on progress rather than perfection, you keep your attention on what you've already accomplished rather than fixating on what's still missing. This shifts the perspective and allows you to move forward with more lightness and confidence. Chapter 14. You need balance. Finding balance in life is a constant challenge. We've all faced that dilemma: follow the desire for immediate gratification or stay focused on long-term goals. This conflict is something we all feel, and dealing with it in a healthy way is crucial for living well. On one side, we have the temptation of immediate pleasure. It could be that dessert you know you should avoid, or the urge to spend another hour on social media instead of working on something important. These small pleasures attract us because they offer instant satisfaction. However, we know that repeatedly giving into them can take us away from our bigger goals, like maintaining health or making progress on a project. This dilemma between the present and the future is, in fact, a value exchange. Value exchange theory teaches us that, often, the decisions we make involve trading an immediate benefit for a larger benefit that will only be achieved in the future. This doesn't mean we should always choose the future at the expense of the present. The key is to carefully evaluate these exchanges and find a balance between pleasure and discipline. A practical way to balance these two sides is to practice delayed gratification. This can be as simple as rewarding yourself after achieving a significant goal. For example, if you've been eating healthy all week, allowing yourself a small treat on the weekend can help maintain balance. That way, you enjoy the rewards without compromising your long-term goals. But it's important to remember that immediate desires play a fundamental role in our emotional well-being. Focusing exclusively on long-term goals, without allowing yourself to enjoy the small pleasures of life, can lead to dissatisfaction and even mental exhaustion. We all need moments of immediate pleasure to feel good and motivated. Emotional homeostasis theory suggests that it's necessary to balance these immediate desires with long-term goals to maintain mental health. It's not about ignoring our present desires, but rather satisfying them in a way that doesn't harm our future well-being. This means finding ways to incorporate pleasures healthily into our routine. For example, you can set aside time for hobbies you love, engage in recreational activities, or even allow yourself some moderate indulgences. These moments of pleasure help satisfy your emotional needs without compromising your bigger goals. The important thing is to find a balance that works for you, where you can enjoy the present without losing sight of the future. Discipline, of course, is essential to achieving our goals and maintaining long-term progress. But too much discipline, without any room for pleasure, can lead to exhaustion and loss of motivation. That's why balancing discipline and pleasure is crucial. This is where the importance of flexibility comes in. Being flexible in your approach to discipline allows you to adapt to changes and maintain motivation. This might mean allowing yourself small pleasures now and then, or adjusting your goals when necessary to avoid burnout. Remember, it's not about being perfect but about finding a rhythm that's sustainable in the long run. A good practice for maintaining balance is to set weekly goals that include both discipline and pleasure aspects. For example, you might decide to work out 3 times a week and, on the weekend, treat yourself to a small indulgence. This ensures that you keep progressing toward your goals while also enjoying life in the present. Life is about finding that delicate balance between now and the future. By learning to balance instant gratification with long-term goals and discipline with pleasure, you can live more fully and satisfyingly without feeling like you're always sacrificing one thing for another. It's about finding a rhythm that works for you, where you can grow and have fun at the same time. Having more self-control isn't about depriving yourself or molding yourself to perfection, it's about aligning yourself with what you truly value in life. It's the ability to choose, with clarity and awareness, what's best for you at each moment. It's knowing that despite the challenges, you have the inner strength to keep going, to make choices that reflect your true desires and goals. Self-control is a journey of self-discovery and growth, where each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you want to become. It's not about denying the small joys but about finding a balance that allows you to enjoy the present while building the future you desire. It's a journey of learning to be kind to yourself, understanding that every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger, and recognizing that the power to transform your life is ultimately in your hands. When you commit to this process, you realize that achieving your goals is not only possible but inevitable because you're living according to what truly matters. Thank you for sticking with us until the end. Your likes and subscription are very important to us. Help us keep the Books Project alive and continue delivering high-quality content. Wishing you peace, and see you next time.